I feel like I should always be doing a full face of makeup, but I don't have the energy for that. So instead of forcing it, I've started noticing something, that I naturally reach for different makeup depending on the energy I have. So I want to be more intentional with that. I want to build a go-to low energy, medium energy, and higher energy look. So let's start off with my low energy idea. On low energy days, this is what I tend to reach for. It's usually things that don't take too much thinking. So a concealer for a little bit of coverage, a cream blush that's easy to blend out, and something easy on my eyes. I want products that fade naturally, I don't have to babysit, but yet still have some impact. If I do this, I feel a little bit more like myself, and that's enough. To save energy, I'm going to use my hands to apply products where I can, and I'm going to try and combine some steps. All right, so that's going to be, I'm going to combine two products. I haven't finished my skincare today, and so I've got the Dew Instant Angel Moisturizer. This is new to me. I've only used it a few times, and I'm going to combine it with my concealer. That way I'll get some light coverage and my face will be moisturized. I'm going to take about, I think I'll do it this way, a little bit of moisturizer and my concealer. This kind of squirts out really weird, just a little bit. And this is from my Project Pan, so I have to count that as a usage. Just evened out my complexion a little bit, gave me a light little bit of coverage. I could pinpoint a little bit more if I wanted to on some blemishes, but on a low energy day, I'm not caring about that. So I'm also looking for products that do double duty, like the Haus Labs Cream Blush. I did end up getting this during the Sephora sale in Glassy Hibiscus, and I'm going to use this blush for all three looks to keep it simple. And not only is this a cheek product, but it's a lip and cheek product. So this is going to save me some energy. And I'm just gonna use my fingers to apply. It gives a really nice glow to the face, especially where I've just moisturized. And the color's really nice. It shows up, which I like. It has a little bit more impact. And now for a lip. That's so easy and such a pretty color. Okay, and I almost forgot. I'm going to use a bronzer for an easy eye look. And I'm just going to use my fingers. You could use a brush if you wanted for better application, you know, more precise. But I'm just going to take this Mario cream bronzer and put it on my lid, but really mostly in my crease, just for a little depth and definition for my eyes. And that is my easy, low energy look. I've got a little bit of coverage, light coverage, a nice bright blush that gives me some impact, and it also does double duty on my lips and my cheeks, and a little bit of bronzer in my crease for a little bit of definition on my eyes. And just to say, this low energy look, I'm not talking about flare days. Flare days, it's absolutely fine to do nothing. Who has the energy or the motivation for that when you're not feeling well? Yeah, so I'm pleased with that. This will fade naturally. I don't have to babysit it, but it gives me a little bit of impact. And I feel like myself. So it's a new day and I've got new energy. And on days like today, when I have a bit more energy to give, I still don't necessarily want to do a full routine. So I'm going to build on the products that I used in my low energy look. I'm not starting over with anything. And I'm going to remove a step or two, add in some steps, but again, only if it feels like it's worth the effort. And I'm still figuring this out, but this is what I've been working on for a mid-energy look, and I'm going to use a few brushes this time. All right, so I'm going to start off with a light base this time. Instead of concealer or concealer mixed with moisturizer, I'm going to use a skin tint, and I'm going to use the Maybelline skin tint. Mine's in the shade 118. Okay, so I have my skin tint on the back of my hand, and I learned a really cool trick from Nikki LaRose, who's a makeup artist, and she has a YouTube channel. Her video was about speed and getting out the door in like 5 or 10 minutes, I think it was. I'm not so interested in speed because my body's only going to allow me to go as fast as it can go. I'm more interested in energy saving tips. And this was a good one, I thought. It's to apply your foundation or skin tint with a fluffy brush. A fluffy brush gives a light diffused application of your skin tint or your foundation. And it seemed really easy and low energy to apply that way. So I have tried it once and it has been good. So I'm going to what they call priming the brush. I don't know what I'm talking about. But you want to do it so that you get all of the product from the back of your hand into the bristles of the brush. And you want to get all the product, and your brush will feel sort of almost dry a bit, I guess. And then I'm going to apply, so that's what my brush looks like. And then I'm going to apply that starting in the areas where I feel like I need the most coverage, which for me is the center of my face. Oh, I didn't pin my hair back. Ugh. Do you guys have any clips that work really well? These ones I got off of Amazon. They're garbage. One of them already broke. So I'm going to apply it starting in the center of my face, and your brush will almost feel a bit dry. And this is a larger brush, so I can get a lot more surface area in one go. And I'm not looking for flawless coverage here. I'm just looking for sort of an even skin tone. And then as there's less product on the brush, I'm going to do my forehead and more so the perimeters of the face. And because it's a light coverage, you can sort of buff it, and that will also diffuse out the coverage a bit. I like to get a little bit on my ears. This isn't the perfect color match for me. And I'm going to bypass concealer in this look, so I'm just gonna add a light layer of whatever's left over on the brush under my eyes and on my eyelid. And I'm gonna take it down my neck a little bit, just so the color, if it's not quite the right color, you won't notice it as much. There. So I just want to make sure there's no streaks doing that, and there doesn't seem to be at all. There, so I think that looks really nice. It's got a little bit of light coverage, which is sort of what I'm looking for. It means I don't have to babysit it too much during the day, which saves energy. And I'm going to bypass concealer. That'll save me a step, but that seems pretty easy to apply and low effort, which I love. Okay, so then I'm going to use the same bronzer that I used in the low energy look, but instead of using it on my eyes, I do want to bronze my face a little bit. So I'm going to use another brush. It's the Makeup by Mario F1 brush. It's double-ended there. I'm just going to put some on my brush and then just add some to my cheeks. And I don't want too much. I should have actually taken a bit off of the back of my hand there. And I find this cream bronzer so easy to blend out and sheer out, so it doesn't look like too much. And it's very easy to apply because it doesn't take much time because it blends out so easily. And I'll just give a little swipe to my eye. And I'm not being too particular. There, bronzer. And then I'm going to use the same blush as the low energy look, so it keeps the decision fatigue to a minimum. So I'm going to use the House Labs Glassy Hibiscus again. I'm just going to apply it with my finger. And I'm going to be a bit more intentional with the placement. I want it to be maybe a little bit more of a lifted look, so I'm going to apply it more towards the back and away from the apple of my cheek. That's so pretty. I love that color. I think that's looking good so far. So this is where I might add just one eyeshadow, an easy one and done, swept all over the lid. I did choose a small eyeshadow palette. This is from Mob Beauty. It's the Late Night palette, and it has a nice neutral gray, a really sheer sparkly color, and then two really pretty greens. I think I'm gonna go with a matte shade, and I'm gonna go with this green one right here. You could use your finger, but I'm gonna use a brush because I think I want a little more precision with the application. And I'm just gonna tap that on the lid, and then when there's less product, I'm just going to blend it up a tiny little bit into the crease and above. So you could pick just one simple shadow, but I also wanted to have more options for my higher energy look. So that's why I picked a quad instead of a single shadow. There. So I think that's a really pretty green. The next step, which is optional of course, and only if it feels worth the effort, I'm gonna use a powder. I need a powder, and for a low energy look, I want something that's gonna last a little bit and kind of keep my oils at bay. So I'm gonna use the Kosas Cloud Set powder, And I'm only going to apply it in the areas that I need it. So for me, that's the T-zone. Okay, and I just want a little bit under my eyes. So I'm just going to use a setting powder brush and tap out any creases. But because I only used the skin tint under there and it was a super light application, there's not really any creasing, which is nice. There. So my T-zone is set, and that should keep my oils at bay for most of the day. All right, and the next thing that feels worth my effort today is a tubing mascara. I want a little more definition around the eyes, and with a tubing mascara, hopefully that will avoid raccoon eyes, which I always seem to get. Flaking, I don't care about in a mascara because that can easily be swiped away, but I always seem to suffer from raccoon eyes. So I'm hoping a tubing mascara is going to help with that. I just got it on my eyelid. I don't know why, but I'm so nervous putting this mascara on in front of you guys. I don't know what's going on. Breathe. I think I'm a bit too excited today. There, that's on the top lash. I think I'm going to put a second coat on while it's still wet. I don't think I'm going to do bottom eyelashes today. There, I think that looks really pretty. You know, I've made a right mess of it, but all over my lid, but we'll clean that up in a minute. All right, and I'm just going to add a second coat. I've built that up quite a bit, so I'm happy with that. Okay, so I'm going to switch the lip out. Instead of using the blush on my lip, this time I'm going to use a lip gloss from Mob Beauty. And this is in the shade Riff, which is a really, really pretty pink color. So I like a gloss, something with a little bit of shine, a natural color, and something that's really easy to apply. There, and this is usually where I stop. And honestly, most days this is enough. I feel really put together. And if you have days where even deciding what makeup to do just feels like too much effort, I created a really simple one-page guide that breaks everything down by energy level that I'm doing today. And you can save that if you want. I'll put a link down in the description box for you guys. Okay, so for the higher energy look. On higher energy level days, I'm still gonna build on what I already have. I might add a bit more coverage, bronzer if I feel like it, and I want a bit more definition around the eyes and the lips, but still only if it feels worth it. Even on higher energy days, I don't want it to feel like a lot of work, and I want to try and figure out ways that I can save energy. I do want a bit more coverage, so I'm going to start with a medium coverage foundation. But trying to figure out ways to save energy, I'm not going to use my hands because I still want a bit of coverage. This to look not so weird. And I did really like from the medium energy look, putting the skin tint on with a fluffy brush. That was really good, but I want to keep the coverage of the medium coverage foundation. So I could use a denser brush, but I do find with brushes, it takes me a little bit more, like a denser brush, it takes me a little bit more time to blend out a higher coverage foundation. So I'm going to use a sponge. This is going to still give me coverage, but not too heavy, and it's going to be a lot quicker to apply. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing, put it on the back of my hand. One pump is too much of this foundation, that's for sure. And I'm just going to prime the sponge. And again, I always like to put wherever I want the most coverage, that's where I'm going to start. So I want the most coverage in the center of my face, because that's where I have the most redness. And then as there's less on the sponge, I'm going to go around the perimeter of the face. Okay, so that's the foundation. I think that's a really nice application, and it doesn't take too long. It's very easy to blend out with a sponge, and there's no need to worry about any brush strokes on the skin. So from the low energy look, I'm going to use the same concealer. I feel like I want a little bit more coverage. And I'm going to put this under the eyes. I'm just going to put it on the back of my hand, and I'm just going to use my fingers to apply under the eye. And a bit on my chin and around my nose where I have the most redness. Now I'm not going to apply it too close to the lash line because that just accentuates a whole bunch of the wrinkles that I have there. Actually, I'm going to use the sponge to finish blending that out because that'll be even faster. I like to angle it up a little bit there to give it a little bit of a lift, especially if the concealer is a shade or half a shade lighter than your skin tone. And I'll add a little bit more coverage on my cheeks where I get the most redness. Okay, so we'll do the same on this eye. Okay, so next I'm going to use the same bronzer that I used in both the low and mid energy looks, the Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Transforming Skin Enhancer in the shade Light. I could use the sponge again for easy application, but my bronzer I want to place a little more strategically, so I'm going to use it with my brush again. I want to try and place it so that I'm getting a slight contour with it, a little bit of shape, as well as a bit of warmth. And the brush is easier to do that than with a sponge. So I think that blush looks really good with applied with a sponge, and it's quick. Okay, so again, I'm going with the same powder from the other two looks, and I'm going to apply all over my face this time because cream products don't last as long as powder products, so I want to have a little bit more longevity to this look. And I'm going to make sure I don't have any creasing under my eye. And I'm going to use a smaller brush just to set under my eye. And a little dusting over the top of the lids. And the benefit of this powder is that it sets your makeup, but it doesn't take away a lot of the glow. So that looks really nice. And you could add a little more blush at this point if you wanted to. But this is a higher energy look, but not a full glam look. So I'm going to leave it where it sits. Okay, so the eye look, I'm going to use the same palette, but I'm going to use a few more shadows because I want a bit more definition. So I'm going to start off with, I think that gray shade all over the lid. I think I'm going to do a little bit of that dark green on the outer corner, just with sort of a small pencil brush. Just a little bit of definition, and now I'm going to use that sparkly shade for the center. Oh, that's pretty. I'm going to bring that up to the brow bone. There's a little bit of fallout, but not much. And now I'm going to use a little bit of that gray under the eye, and I'll use that pencil brush again for a little bit of that sparkly dark green just in the outer corner. There. So there is an argument to be made for doing your eyes first, so you don't have that fallout. And that sparkle has like a shift to it, which is really pretty. All right, and now we'll do the mascara, and we're going to do mascara on the top and bottom lashes. And I'm just going to do mascara like sort of on the outer half. There, so that's one eye done. A little more definition. And if I wanted, I could also add No, I'm not gonna add eyeliner. I think that's gonna be good. Both eyes are done, just need a little cleanup on this one over here. So I have a little bit more definition on the eyes. Still one palette, 4 colors, 4 shades just makes it easier. Not too overwhelming. Okay, so now I'm gonna do brows, but I wanna keep this as low energy as possible. Brows are very difficult for me. I'm gonna use the e.l.f. Wow Brow in the shade Neutral Brown. It's a tinted fiber gel, so it's going to take me the least amount of energy to do my brows with that. It's going to fill in some of the sparse areas with the fibers as well as with the color. There. So that's one new product. Didn't take a lot of effort. And then the next thing I'll do, if I have the energy, is I want to add a little more definition to my lip. So I'm going to use the same lip gloss as the other looks, but I'm going to add in a lip pencil. This is in the shade Cool Spice by MAC. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in most of the lip. That way when the lip gloss fades off, the lip liner will be left behind. So that's a really pretty color on its own, and it could be left like that if you wanted, and it would stay. I'm going to add a little bit of that same lip gloss that we used before. I'm just going to focus that more in the center of the lip. All right, so that is the higher energy look. I'm pretty pleased with that. If I had a little bit more energy, I'd probably top up the blush a bit because cream blush fades a little faster than powder blush does. But overall, I'm very happy with the look. I think what I'm realizing is that I don't actually need one routine. I just need something that works for the day I'm having, because it's not about doing makeup the right way. It's about doing what feels worth the energy that day. If your energy's low and you just want to feel a little bit more like yourself, these are the 3 makeup routines I've been coming back to lately. And if you'd like the 1-page guide, that link is in the description box below, and it's just something that's there for you when you don't want to think about it. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care, be fibrofabulous, and I'll see you in the next one.